So let's begin as usual with the vocabulary. The first word is nation. Nation simply means a country, right? So what country are you in right now? What country are you from? Are you watching this from Korea, which is a country? Are you watching this from Turkey? That's a country as well. Are you watching this from the United States? Also another country. So of course the world is divided into many countries, and we call these countries, or we can also say nations. Disaster. A disaster, oh, it's terrible. A disaster is something really bad. It's a very bad event. What are types of disasters? Well, fires, like a big fire, a flood. We see sometimes in the news, certain parts of the world have terrible floods when it rains too much. Or earthquakes, very terrible events that happen, and usually many people lose their lives, and many other people are injured or lose their homes or in danger because they have no food to eat after some type of disaster. So disasters are really bad events. Aid. Aid simply means help. It's a more formal word. It's a fancier word than help. Help is a very common word, but aid is a little bit more of a formal word. Aid just means help or support. So aid can be a noun. It can also be a verb. Aid as a noun is the things that you give to somebody to help them, especially in a disaster. But you can also aid somebody. That's a verb. That means to help them. So of course help can be a noun or a verb as well. But aid is just more formal than help. Supply. Supply can also be a noun or a verb. In this case, it's a noun because it means things that are needed, such as food, medicines, or clothes. And usually when we talk about, if we say supply is things, we usually say supplies, right? So supplies, when you're talking about a noun, and let's say you want to give some things that are needed to another person. They had a fire in their house, right? The family, they had a fire, they lost their home. So you say, well, gee, I want to help them out. So let's give them water, let's give them food, let's give them blankets, clothing. Those are supplies. Okay, so supply is a count noun, and we usually use it in the plural because you don't just give one supply, you give supplies to people, and it's various things, food, medicine, clothes, those are supplies. Okay. Next we have discuss. Discuss means to talk about something, to make a decision. And be careful because many of my Korean students will use the preposition about after discuss, but do not do that. That's wrong because discuss means to talk about. So when you say, let's discuss about the problem, you're saying, let's talk about the problem. Why would you say about twice? You don't need to. Discuss already means talk about. So just say, we should discuss the problem. We should discuss our plans, but do not use the preposition about after discuss. It sounds very strange, and native speakers do not do that. So please, if you don't get into that habit, okay? Don't use about after discuss. It's just discuss. Discuss the problem, discuss the plans, discuss the meeting, discuss something. Okay, good. Next, we have meeting. Meeting, of course, is when many people get together and they talk about something, they discuss something. An occasion is like an event or a time when people, and you can see many people, a meeting could just be two people, of course. You could have a two-person meeting. This is more typical, though, of a business meeting. Many people get together. And why do they get together? Because they want to discuss an issue. They want to discuss something. And usually they come to a decision. Not always, but usually they try to come to a decision. They try to decide something. So decide is a verb, decision is a noun. So we want to discuss something in order to make a decision or in order to decide something, a course of action. Next we have be made up of. Whew, it's 4 words, right? But this is a phrasal verb that means that various parts combine to make a whole. Be made up of, it says be composed of, but what does composed of mean? Composed of means that you have many different parts and you put them all together and that makes a whole thing. And you can say it's made up of. This is a good example because if you think of a hamburger, right, what is a hamburger made up of? A hamburger has many different parts. It has bread, it has vegetables, tomato, it has meat, it has more vegetables, pickles and lettuce, and it has bread on the top. So it is made up of all these things. It's missing something. What is it missing? Ketchup. There's no ketchup. Okay, but many people put ketchup on their hamburgers, so a hamburger is made up of many different things. And of course, you could put different things on your hamburgers. Some people get very creative with what they make their hamburgers up with. Okay, so to be made up of is to be composed of or to contain many different parts to make a whole thing. Okay. Finally, we have keep in touch. This is very important. Also a phrase. It's kind of an idiomatic expression. Keep in touch means to keep communicating. Ooh, that's a big word. Communicating, talking with somebody. So, if you have a friend and your friend moves away to a different town or a different nation, you don't want to lose that friend, so you want to keep in touch with that person. So maybe sometimes you send them email. Maybe you call them on the phone. Well, that's a very old phone, on your cell phone. Or you text them. You can text internationally these days as well. But you want to stay in touch. Stay in touch, keep in touch means the same thing. So stay in touch, keep in touch, it doesn't matter. They both mean the same thing. It means you don't lose touch with a friend who has moved away, friend or relative who has moved away. Okay, so that is our vocabulary for this lesson.
Lesson 3. We are part of the world. Nation. A country. Disaster. A very bad event such as fire, flood, or earthquake. Aid. Help or support. Supply. Things that are needed such as food, medicines, or clothes. Discuss. To talk about something to make a decision. Meeting. An occasion when people meet to discuss and decide something. Be made up of. Be composed of. Keep in touch. To keep communicating with somebody.